Welcome to the official Catchup Lowland League edition. It's myself, Ben, and today I'm joined by Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Yeah, I'm doing not too bad. The only dodgy thing is I'm back on the sort of vegetarian diet, and I ate this, was it mushroom brie and cranberry parcel thing? I had ate it before we started recording, so no, it's not went down well, let's put it that way.
Fair days. I had sausage and mash for my dinner, so that was quite nice. Nice wee old school dinner for me there, but I enjoyed it. Just a shout out to our sponsors, the Soccer Shop Direct. Follow them on Twitter at the Soccer Shop D. Check out their website on www.thesoccershopdirect.com for your teamwear and football equipment needs. So we're going to look at the Lowland League. Gallifreydine Rovers had the bye week, and Dalbeattie versus Boness was off because of a waterlogged pitch. I mean, the weather conditions of the weekend probably wasn't great for football, was it, Chris?
No, it wasn't. And just a wee sad note, we lost a few people recently. Frankie Styles, the honorary president of Dalbeattie Star, died last week, sadly. Mr. Dalbeattie Star himself, he wasn't the only one. It's been a bit of a strange week, weather aside and football aside. Where Frankie, Curtis Wilson, the Dalbeattie Star defender, put a brilliant tribute out for him. And what would have been the programme for the Boness game, but he put it on Twitter. The Catchup Twitter's retweeted it. So, yeah, very, very sad. And Saturday afternoon, we lost Sir Sean Connery, who we've mentioned a few times when I try and do the sponsor. Legendary Scottish actor, and he played for Bonnie Rig Rose in the 1950s, man. What a loss that is. He's one of those guys that, I guess he's one of them characters that you just never think are going to die.
Yeah.
90-year-old, and obviously they're all sad, obviously, but Marius Saliukis dying at 36. That was a really bad one, for a scary one, actually, dying at that age. No one should be dying at that age, man.
Yeah, very, very young. A great player as well for both Hearts, and they played Rangers as well, I think.
Yeah.
He was at Rangers for a bit as well. But a great player. You can see all the Hearts fans pouring out their tributes to him, because he was one of their, probably in recent times, probably one of their legends, if you like, in that kind of the Lithuanian kind of Romanov era, and he was always probably the guy you remember from that kind of era and that side. So yeah, sad to hear about Zalewskis, for sure, and all the others, of course.
That's scary. That is honestly quite scary. 36-year-old. I think it was a heart attack.
Was it right? Okay.
Hart and Midlothian, obviously, they won the Scottish Cup semi-final against Hibs. A good wee tribute there for him, but it's quite sad. They've posted a few videos out, and it's the former club captain, obviously. And I think in football, we might have our wee rivalries on the pitch and off them and that, but all a part of the football and family, mate.
100%. I think I just read on Twitter there before we started. Kevin Nisbet, the Hibs player's dad, passed away on Wednesday, and he played on Saturday in the semi-final. So condolences again to Kevin Nisbet and his family. But being able to play the game on Saturday afternoon, about 4 days after your dad passing, is highly commendable for Nisbet. He obviously didn't want to miss the match, but must be very, very difficult to play a football match. And I was like myself, and it happened to me, and I don't think I could have kicked a ball, never mind playing in a semi-final at professional level football. So fair play to him.
Well, moving on, I guess. The conditions weren't decent, to be honest, mate, but we'll try our best to. I noticed there was a few sort of lacklustre match updates. I think it's maybe the cold fingers playing, or either that or the wind not giving the best of football in action. But
it was a horrible day. We were at home to Blantyre Vixen. I was laughing because we lost 2-1, but all 3 goals were wind assisted. They were like, one was a ball that was lumped forward and the keeper came out to catch it, but the wind just caught it and took over his head. We scored from a corner that you would never be able to score from unless the wind had thrown it in the goal, and their goal was a similar kind of wind assisted play. So not a great day for goalkeepers, for sure, when it comes to the wind and the rain. But there was a few games played in the Lowland League, so we'll start off with the Vale Leaven versus East Stirlingshire game. It was a 7-0 thrashing for Shire, a great result for them, and again another clean sheet on the board for them.
They kind of started earlier at Victoria Park. 6 minutes in, it was Great Jamie Dishington diving header was saved on the line by the Vale leaving keeper. A minute later, Dishington slots Andy Rogers clean through one-on-one with the keeper, and the keeper outstretched leg turns it wide. Two really decent chances for Shire early on. And again, 2 minutes later, on the 9th minute, Rogers again clean through after a smart run in behind the defence. Lobs keeper, but it's just over the bar. They did get the first goal. Great work by Dean Watson, who's on loan to Partick Thistle, not to be confused with the Dean Watson that plays for Gretna. We've got another doppelganger. I think that's the third time this season in the Lowland League that someone has got the same name. He sees his shot saved, and the rebound is picked up by Craig Henderson, who weaves his way around the fullback before firing home 1-0 Shire. There was a bit of a horrific tackle that seen a Vale player getting a straight red, so Vale were down to 10 men before the half-hour mark. There was a wee bit of an argument, I believe, between the sort of Vale management. I think they were booked as well, but from what I've heard, it was a bit of a shocking tackle, obviously with the straight red. It kind of says it all. 29 minutes, it was a penalty to Shire, as the man we were just talking about, Dean Watson, was brought down. Andy Rogers stepped up and made it 2-0 from the penalty spot. 5 minutes later, on the 34th minute, Andy Rogers makes it 3 with a back post header from a great Jamie Dishington cross. 42 minutes, Greg Wild makes it 4 with a fine left foot finish from the edge of the box. And just before half time, Jamie Dishington made it 5-0. Second half, Lee Haddon makes it 6 with a cool finish. And on the 77th minute, Andy Rogers gets his hat-trick after finishing from 6 yards after great work by Haddon to open up the defence. The gaffer did get a wee run out, I noticed, on the 80th minute, which is obviously great to see. The young lads, the young boy Delaware and the young lad Andy Shearer on the midfield. I like that there from East Stirlingshire. And Vale did get a penalty in the 89th minute. It was a bit of a bizarre one. Marty Orr knees the ball into his face, onto his arm, and the ref points to the spot. He got a burst nose for his trouble there. But the penalty was saved by Ross Connolly, who, it was a really decent dive to the right, and he managed to save route really for East Stirlingshire. Not very good from Vale, but I don't think the sending off plus the horrible conditions would have helped them in that match, Ben.
No, I think it definitely was a bad day for all concerned. At Vale, good to see Shire scoring a lot of goals and continuing that clean sheet run that they've been on. I think we noticed there. Is that the all-time record for consecutive clean sheets for Shire? Is that?
Yeah, that's what I read anyway. All-time for the start of the season anyway. 5 clean sheets. Brilliant achievement, really. The one thing we really have to ask ourselves now is they've played Escobar. They got a draw last week, 0-0, against one of the teams that you would probably think were going to be up there. Should we be considering Shire in contention?
You've got to think so. I think if you look at the league table just now, though, there is 4 or 5 teams there still well within their chance of winning the league, I think. And these teams are going to play each other and possibly take points each off each other. So there's no reason why we should be discounting Shire at this point. I think they've had a great start. Still to concede a goal. I mean, that's a great start for any team. 5 games, no goals conceded. That's excellent for them. And I think, with it well within their rights, I think there was a lot of concerns around Shire at the start of the season where they maybe had lost a few players, but the squad they've built for this season looks like it's going to be strong and definitely have them in contention.
We've not really spoken a lot about Jamie Dishington. We were the Jamie Dishington fan cast for the longest period. I think he's been in the last sort of couple of seasons, listeners team of this season, but he seemed like he had a great game of the day, but we can't really take anything away from Andy Rogers getting a hat-trick. Hopefully he'll be firing Shire goal. The thing is, Ben, we've not really seen a lot of teams, apart from maybe I think East Kilbride beat Gretna 6-1. We've not seen floods of goals from the top teams.
Yeah, well, apart from BSC scored 6 against Vale in their match. However, obviously Vale did score 4 in that game too. But yeah, I think it's been quite close. The Kelty won 4-0 against them the week before as well. So certainly Vale are leaking the goals, and unfortunately for them. But yeah, can't discount Shire at all. I think they look good for what they've built this year, and hopefully they'll keep the league competitive right to the end. Moving on to the next match in the fixtures was BSC Glasgow versus Berwick Rangers. It was a 0-0 draw. at the end of the drill. Moz's mob. Normally Moz would run us through this, but unfortunately he has some internet issues, I think, so he's not with us tonight. But I'll run through just quickly. It was an early chance for Callum Smith at Berwick. As Allen turns a pass into his path, and he can't direct it goalwards. Not long after that, there was a chance for Michael Anderson, who was one-on-one with Horn and blasted the ball right over the bar after a great pass from Jamie Hamilton. Andy Geoghegan one cleared off the line around the 27-minute mark from a corner, was whipped in, and he went for a volley. It was cleared off the line, as I say, and almost exactly like the goal he scored on Wednesday night. It was a cracking goal on Wednesday night. Literally, the ball came in, he was unmarked on the edge of the box and banged in, but obviously tried that trick in training and unfortunately didn't come off from in the game against Berwick. Darren Christie had a chance. He was inside the box and he tried to put a wee pass into Jamie Hamilton, but Finney got the vital touch and cleared out as Darren Christie tried to find Hamilton in the box. Darren Christie, a great player for BSC. I'm a big fan. Everyone knows that by now for sure. Next was Andy Geoghegan, went down with injury. He was taken off just before half time. Ross Lyon came on the park to hopefully maybe give them a bit of an extra dimension on the wing. Game finished not at half time. And the second half restarted with Declan Hughes putting a ball in the box for Ross Lyon, who flicked it back to Ryan Tierney, and Ryan Tierney managed to put a great save from the keeper just to put it around the post. The wind was still kind of playing havoc with the game, and I think it made, as we said before, made a lot of games very, very difficult. However, Sam Daniel tried a pot shot which catches the wind, and the deflection nearly caught out David Wilson, but he was managed to just put it round the post and keep it out the BSC net. A corner came from that, and it was a vicious strike which was blocked by the Berwick striker Callum Smith. The best chance the second half came though to Alfie Aguiman. Jamie Hamlin splits the defence to play in Alfie Aguiman, and it was a great save by Horn in the Berwick goal. Lewis Berger goes for a cross. Almost managed to beat Horn. However, I think it was probably, again, wind assisted, but didn't quite make it in the net. Final chance came. I think it was a penalty claim. I think it ended up being a free kick. Alfie Aguiman was taken out by Ryan Finney, but the ref gave a free kick rather than a penalty. And Jamie Hamilton, he took the free kick, and Horn, the Berwick keeper, put it around the post just to make sure. To keep the game 0-0. Certainly sounds like a game of plenty of chances, but no one really found the net.
Yeah, full time 0-0. I think his full name's Peter Horn, but he gets called Doogie Horn. I think that confused me when Berwick played Spartans. I was like, why is he getting called? I think that's his first name, but I think he gets called Doogie for whatever reason, maybe a middle name or something. But yeah, it sounded like the wind obviously wreaked havoc on that game. I believe it was called Man of the Match at one point. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I'm sure Mozza's probably had a wee bit of stick from the Berwick lads, because I'm sure he mentioned something about defensive frailties. I believe on their Let It Be BRFC podcast. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really decent result, actually. Not one I was expecting. I thought BSC, with the amount of goals they've scored recently, I know Berwick have had not too many issues defensively, but they've not really put loads past teams. So away from home, that's a fantastic result against BSC.
Yeah, I think BSC to drop the points, they're certainly a team that want to be up there fighting, but you probably can't be losing games like that if you want to keep in touch with the likes of Escobar or Kelty or Shire, for example, or Boness even. You've certainly got to try and keep tabs on those teams, and to drop 2 points is probably going to be certainly disappointing for Swifty and the BSC lads, but I'm sure they'll bounce back coming up on Saturday.
One note, obviously, I think Andy Geoghegan, he's not out for BSC as well.
All right, okay. He played on Wednesday night, and he scored a screamer on Wednesday night from that corner, and so hopefully he's back. But if he did go off at 40 minutes in the game, so hopefully he's not too bad, because he did look like a good player. I've watched a few of the BSC games now on Saturdays. Quite fortunate that our games I've been finishing kind of enough time to kind of catch the second half of BSC matches, and Geoghegan looks the part. He came from, what was it, Ayr, I think it was, and certainly looks like he's going to fit right in at home at BSC for sure. Yeah,
and one player that's certainly been raved about down at Berwick, I've always kind of rated him, actually. Before he went to Queen's Park last season when he came back from Sweden, I believe. He should have been picked up by a Lowland League team, but Ryan Finney, he's been very impressive for Berwick so far. I did get I guess it wasn't a question, but Ryan Finney over Sergio Ramos. What do you think, Ben?
I'll need to see more of Ryan Finney first before I decide on that one.
Well, he's certainly got the discipline record on his side. I don't think he's had too many send-ins off. But no, I really rate Ryan. I'm glad he's finding his form at Berwick. I know he was sort of looking when he was sort of let go or whatever happened with Queen's Park, but it's certainly a player I rate, and he's doing really well at Berwick, which is great to see.
Right, moving on to the next game, and the fixture was Bonnyrigg versus Cumbernauld Colts. It was a 1-1 draw at New Dundas Park. Drop points again for Bonnyrigg.
Yeah. Is it New Dundas or New Douglas Park? I'm not sure.
Dundas, I'm sure it's.
With the announcement of Sean Connery, because he played for Bonnyrigg, I believe, in a few papers they put down as New Douglas Park, the home of Hamilton Accies rather than Bonnyrigg Rose.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, another game that was obviously hampered by the weather. I didn't see much to shout about, and up until half time, it was 0-0. The wind playing its part. Early into the second half, 50th minute, it was a goal for Cumbernauld. Cameron Foy gets on the end of a free kick to fire past Weir. There was a decent chance for Bonnyrigg. Lee Curry fires just wide from the edge of the box in the 57th minute. 66th minute, it was Lee Curry getting his second yellow card of the match, so Bonnyrigg were down to 10 men. There was a penalty shout on the 73rd minute. Dean Brett goes down in the box, and Rose claimed for a penalty, but the ref waves play it on. I believe Robbie Horn called it a stone waller. I did watch the highlights done by Amy Canavan, who done an excellent job. But for me, this wasn't a penalty. I thought Dean done really well to get in between the Colts players, but I think it's like it was really weird. I'll try and do my best to describe this, but obviously the highlights are out there if you want to sort of catch them yourselves. But it looked to me like the Colts player's trailing leg kind of got caught with Dean Brett's, if that makes sense. But he wasn't even looking at Dean Brett. He was like in front of him, so it was very, very strange. But it literally looked like their two legs sort of got caught. It's really, you would have to see it for yourself, but the highlights are there. So it wasn't a stone waller for me anyway. 74th minute, Scott's Gray's corner evades everyone and finds the far corner to bring Rose level. So a goal straight from a corner, basically. I think, again, wind assisted in this one. 91st minute, Cumbernauld, I think they've won it at the death, but the goal was disallowed by the referee. It remains 1-1. What happened was, at first I was like, why is that not a goal? But if the highlights, you can clearly see the Colts player, basically, he's all over the keeper, Mark Weir. He's like backing into him. Mark Weir had no chance, so it's obviously a foul. Fair enough. And Bonnyrigg did have a one final chance. Andy Mayer cross almost beats the keeper. It was actually really, really close for Bonnyrigg. But I think on reflection, obviously Bonnyrigg will be disappointed to drop more points, but I think Robbie, they did show a wee bit of character, obviously with 10 men against a Cumbernauld Colts side, similar to, I guess, Stirling Uni, who they also brought points to, that on their day could probably take points off the top teams.
Well, mentions the University of Stirling, and in terms of Bonnyrigg, they'll be disappointed to lose 2 points against a team like Cumbernauld. They are one of the teams that probably you would have up there in the kind of, let's say, 6 teams that you can probably look like they're going to challenge for the title, and another points dropped by Bonnyrigg. You've got to, I guess, be really disappointed with that. And again, had dropped points on Wednesday to University of Stirling that are going to be having to play catch up now to try and kind of keep abreast with these teams above them. Yeah,
I mean, you, ideally, if you're Bonnyrigg Rose, who are still among my favourites, I would say, you don't want to be dropping points early, especially when it looks like East Kilbride and Kelty are getting results early on. But at the end of the day, they've not lost any. I know it's 4 points dropped over the last 2 games, and they've got another big game coming up, as we'll mention a wee bit later on. But I wouldn't be too concerned, but certainly a wee bit frustrated, I guess, from Robbie and the lads there.
Yeah, I think so. I think hopefully they can bounce back on Saturday for sure, but certainly not a good time to be dropping points when our teams are getting the results on the board for sure. Moving on to the next game, Cali Braves versus Kelty Hearts, and it was a close game. It was 1-0 win to Kelty at Alliance Park. It's a very, very close game. Not much to talk about, to be honest, in terms of Kelty, but they managed to get the points, and a game that, again, was probably marred by kind of poor conditions. It seems to be the order of the day, the wind and the rain, and a lot of the games was really affecting them. But Kelty managed to grind that out victory, and that's probably one of those kind of results that you'll see from Kelty that makes him a top team, because he can go and play in these tough kind of away grounds and certainly get the result that they need to when it's required.
Yeah, they got the goal quite early on, I think 12th minute through Scott Hooper. But I gave Braves a lot of stick, I guess, last week on the podcast, and they did get their first win midweek, and it looks like they've sort of turned a close game with Kelly. I know the conditions obviously played a part, and there wasn't a lot to talk about, but yeah, hopefully they can build on that, Cali Braves, and as you say, in terms of Kelty, Lynn, it's one of those results that they've just sort of scraped by. But I'm not 100% sure if Nathan Austin's back yet, but I fully fit Nathan Austin. They'll start scoring goals again, and we'll be up there. But the most important thing is, similar to Escobar, they're getting the wins, and they're challenging at the very top without one of their main guys. And
yeah, I mean, they've got a really strong squad, haven't they? Kelty, they brought in obviously Higginbotham. We've spoken about him plenty, and he looks like he's creating a lot of chances for them, as well as just putting the ball in the net. So even if they have been playing without Fash, it looks like there's a lot of guys who have stepped up and managed to continue the good form that they had last season. So nothing we don't really expect from Kelty, but still a tough game by the sounds of it. But they do get the points, which is all the important thing right now, and keeping tabs on these other teams for sure.
Yeah, and we obviously mentioned Nathan Austin there, but I think it's similar with the Caledonian Braves. I don't think they've had Ross McNeil. I think he's been injured, so he's one of their sort of top men to go for. I'll say this, I'm only hard on teams that I actually rate, so there's a saving grace there for Cali Braves, but it's good that they picked up their first points midweek. Tough one against Kelty, but again, they're against a team that's potentially going to be right up there at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of kind of hype around Cali Braves, certainly at the start of the season. I personally thought they'd do quite well. Maybe haven't started, obviously, too well, having lost 4, but hopefully that even having a good performance against Kelty will help them, and they'll be able to kind of build on that from Wednesday night, having picked up some points on Wednesday. Moving on to the next game, it was Civil Service Strollers versus University of Stirling. It was a 1-0 win for Civil. I think it was one of those games that quite close throughout, and I think we've talked a lot about Stirling through the course of the last few weeks and how they've started brightly. A little bump in the road, I guess, in terms of this game.
Yeah, it was similar, Ben. An early goal, not 12 minutes this time, the 13th. The ball was lost in midfield, and Big Alu Faye has time to go around Ben Fry and a few defenders and fires home. I thought he'd actually overdone it for a wee bit, but the big man done well, and he gave them the lead. Civil Service Strollers, Christy Gillis Park, I know they've had sort of the best time lately in terms of results. They're Christy Gillis Park, they're a strong team. They give anyone a game. It's a hard place to go for any team, really. But in terms of University of Stirling, from what I've read, they never really looked themselves in the first half. They were better in the second, but tough conditions again. The wind, Christy Gillis Park on a cold day, on a windy day. I've been there myself. Not the greatest for football if you've got them conditions going against you. Strollers obviously got a wee bit better with the tight pitch and conditions, and made more chances whilst being solid at the back. One thing we have to really say, although I don't want to take too much away from Civil Service Strollers, it's a decent result, but have we been giving University of Stirling too much credit lately, Ben?
Some may say, Chris, but I think it's certainly been warranted. They started the season really well. Only this is what was second defeat in 6 games, and playing against Bonnyrigg on Wednesday, picking up the draw, which is a good result for University of Stirling, I would think. And I think it's warranted, the credit they've been getting, because I think they've started brightly. They seem to have built a good squad. Obviously, the situation with the universities in terms of trying to build a squad is a wee bit different from the teams who have perhaps got money or can bring guys in. So for building a team and having the abilities that they do, it's great to see. And I think the praise is just deserved, because if you look at, for example, another university team like Edinburgh, who are sitting 14th in the table and they're in similar conditions in terms of size and how they're made up. So it's great to see University of Stirling sitting in the top half of the league for sure.
Yeah, it's a great start. They have picked up some really good results, and they were unlucky against East Kilbride. I mean, they do train a lot more than other teams, the uni teams, and they may do have like the best of facilities and the best everything really, but because they're limited with who they can bring in, a lot of them, and you know what, they have some really decent players. I've always said that, decent young players, but they do lack in terms of other teams probably higher up experience. I know a lot of the youngsters at Stirling Uni have SPFL, they were at pro youth level, maybe lack the experience of higher up in terms of senior squads. So yeah, I think we have to credit Stirling Uni for the start they've made. But I do understand that there's different. I mean, they're playing football and training a lot more. They've only, a lot of them are younger. They probably don't have a lot of the concerns in terms of job-wise if they're studying, and they might not have family like everyone else. But yeah, the results speak for themselves. I think University of Stirling, I don't think we've overdone it with the praise, to be honest, in terms of where I think they'll be compared to where other teams will be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just to pick up on one of the points you made there, Chris, about maybe the players having a bit more or having less kind of worries or concerns. I think yeah, fair enough that maybe you'll see players at other clubs maybe having to look after their family or do a full shift and then go to training. However, I think to give the guys at University of Stirling their dues, I mean, they've still got to put in a shift and go to lectures and do all their work and probably sit and write essays and all that kind of stuff, and exams that concern they maybe have about doing kind of exams to make sure they pass their courses. So I wouldn't say that they've got some sort of kind of less pressure, I feel like, because they've got this different pressure. I think that's the thing about it. Yeah, as I said, some teams will have other worries, but going to university and doing a 4-year stint at a degree, an honours degree at University of Stirling, perhaps living at the uni and away from home as well, and all that comes to it. So I don't think it's we can use that as a on University of Stirling, because they do have perhaps a different outlook in how they have their life, sort of thing. So I don't think that's a fair thing to say, really. And in terms of facilities and all that only goes so far as well. In terms of, you still have to have a manager who can build a team and tactically set up his team and work through things like the shape and all that. They might have more time to do it for sure, but in terms of that, they're still going to go and do it on a Saturday, which they have been doing. So fair play at University of Stirling.
I mean, I think it's interesting. It's certainly an interesting chat. I think you're right. I believe there is different pressures, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to playing football, and it all comes down to what happens on the pitch. And really, you cannot take anything away from Stirling Uni with the start they've had. Yeah,
I think just on the bit about experience as well. I think the other sides will have signed guys who have played at a high level for a number of years. You look at like BSC, for example, having a guy like Andy Geoghegan who's played most of his career at United in the Championship, and he's now at BSC. At University of Stirling, not going to have guys like that in their team by and large, so that might be something that they'll as you get down the stretch, they maybe don't have those kind of experienced bodies on their side to really pull them through. But yeah, I'm a big fan of what University of Stirling have done so far this season, and I think they absolutely deserve everything that's been said about them.
Yeah, moving on to East Kilbride versus the Spartans, the two former Lowland League champions. It was a game at K Park that East Kilbride won 2-0. Similar, not much happened in the first half. Half-time was 0-0. Again, I believe the conditions played a part. Goal for East Kilbride. Stephen Bell starts playing the ball slides a lovely ball through to Paul Woods, who hits it first time into the roof of the net, giving East Kilbride the lead. It was a second on the 72nd minute. Armstrong on the right whips a great ball into the back post. Waiting is Smith, who nods it back across goal to Stephen Bell, who heads it home. There was a penalty to Spartans on the 89th minute. I believe it was Archie Meekinson who stepped up, hits it well, but it was a fantastic save by Conor Brennan, give them the clean sheet and the win. East Kilbride winning that 2-0. An interesting one. You'd probably, especially at K Park, give East Kilbride the favourite tag, if you will. Spartans have been kind of hit and miss. Obviously, I've seen a a lot of them lately. But yeah, East Kilbride, another one that have got through the conditions there and got all 3 points.
Yeah, I think you look at East Kilbride side, they've got a great side, gelling well as well, and managing to kind of grind out those results. Just a quick question for me, Chris. Conor Brennan, is he the ex-Kilmarnock goalkeeper? Is it the same person? He was at Derby at one time.
Yeah, it is, mate.
No, I just remember being a Kilmarnock fan. I remember seeing Conor kind of coming through the ranks, and I'm sure he went off to Derby at one time in his career. He was kind of destined for big things. I didn't realise he was at East Kilbride, but he was a good keeper in his day at Kilmarnock, and he must be in his 20s now, right enough. But sounds like he's made a good save on the penalty in the game against Spartans. Okay, so looking at the final game and the fixture list, it was Edinburgh Uni versus Gretna 2008. It was a 1-0 win for Edinburgh University, and basically I think a very quiet game, scrappy game by all accounts. And Uni managed to also grab the first win of the season, the first points of the season, and it was a great move finished off by Dave Maskery. What can only be described as a slightly breezy East Peffermill. I wonder if that comment is some sort of sarcasm, because I don't know anywhere that had a slight breeze on Saturday anywhere in Scotland, never mind east or west. But yeah, first victory for Edinburgh Uni.
To be honest, I have to give credit to Edinburgh Uni. I fancied Gretna to win this one. Two teams that this would have been sort of a battle towards the bottom last season, and it's looking like the same this season. Tell you what, that's a sickener for Gretna. I know they've got a few boys that are injured, but you've had to look at that game and say that Gretna should have won that. But Edinburgh Uni, I believe they were, when we last talked about them, I think they had played well against Cumbernauld Colts, and fantastic win, really. And it's win. The problem with this for Gretna, I think, not wanting to focus too much on Gretna, but it's one of those games that these are the end of the season that will matter for the sort of teams towards the bottoms, if they're going to have, between 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 points. And I would be very, very worried of losing that game if I was a Gretna fan.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's looking like it's going to be a difficult season for Gretna and Vale. I think both teams are looking like they're going to maybe struggle a little bit. I think I watched them on last Saturday against BSC, and there was flashes of good play, but I think they look like they've got their challenges ahead for sure. And I think you don't want to get into that sort of dogfight just now. And I think they're going to need to do something quickly to turn it around and get on, because I'm not too sure where that's going to come. They've got some difficult fixtures coming up, and they really need to try and get points. You're probably expecting them to win or get points against Edinburgh Uni normally, and however, not to discredit Edinburgh Uni, it's a great result for them, and I think Gretna are going to be really concerned.
Yeah. And as I said, we can't take it away from Uni. It's a fantastic result, but a wee bit worrying for Gretna. I think they've got a good chance next week. We'll obviously get into it. But in terms of, we had a few questions, Ben. I think we've answered a couple of them through that time. But what sort of clubs have impressed you? Maybe kind of shocked you of where they are in the league? And on the other note, the other side of the good and the bad, basically, who sort of stands out for both?
I think for me, in terms of standout, it's Bowness United. I think coming up from the East League last season, promoted up, and they're coming into obviously, let's face it, you probably, as a team coming up from the kind of the tier 6 level of Scottish football, you're really wanting to kind of just consolidate a position probably in the Lowland League right now, in your first season up there. But Bowness look like they're going to be going toe to toe with Kilby and Kelty, BSC, and certainly Shire, because I think they look great. They've built the squad looks strong, and they certainly have every chance to run the teams close. Can they win it? I'm not really sure, but I think they're going to be up there without. In terms of kind of bad, I think I'm disappointed with Cali Braves. I think I expected more from them at the start of the season, and it just doesn't seem to be happening for them. I'm not too sure why that is, but I think I expected them to be probably sitting top half of the table by now, and they're sitting kind of very close to the bottom.
Yeah, impressed. Bowness is a really good shout, actually, but I'm going to go with East Stirlingshire just for the fact that I always rate the job that Dale and Andy are doing there, but I didn't quite expect them to have the decent start that they have, especially having played, like East Kilbride, for example. So I'm going to choose East Stirlingshire for that. They're also, I would consider them dark horses as well. For the bad, I would agree with you, mate. Caledonian Braves, I know I said it earlier, I was a wee bit maybe harsh with them last week. Fair enough, they picked up their first win midweek. They done, I think, probably a decent job against Kelty, only to be 1-0. But yeah, they need to really push on for me. But in terms of players, I'll go with a Spartans player because I've seen them the majority of the sort of games. I would say young Archie Meakinson on loan from Dundee United has been very impressive. I know he missed a penalty against East Kilbride, but he's been really, really decent from what I've seen of him. Really looks like he has the chance to maybe move up higher up if he keeps putting in these sort of performances. Maybe SPFL, hopefully a few years, and he's playing for the senior team at Dundee United. But yeah, he's been very lively, very impressive. Always a wee bit tricky. I've been really impressed with Archie. What about yourself, mate? I know you've probably not seen every sort of game for Lowland, but is there maybe you said you BSC, has anyone been impressive for you?
I think the two players that stand out for me so far from what I've seen is obviously Darren Christie at BSC. I think knowing Darren from his time at Bees and what a player he was for Bees, and he moved to Pollock obviously in the summer, and Pollock not playing meant that Darren Christie could move up and play for BSC. He looks, I think, probably one of their best players in terms of the side that they have. They've got some great players, no doubt. I've obviously watched a few games now because probably largely because it's free, let's be honest. I think and obviously Moza as well having an interest at BSC. But yeah, I think that Darren Christie looks excellent. I think he will only get better as well as the season goes on. The one thing I was a bit disappointed about Darren Christie is that I have seen he signed a new contract with the Pollock already. I think I would have liked to have seen him maybe stick around at BSC because being a bit selfish as a Conan Rangers person, I don't want to see Darren Christie against me at any point. So if he was playing for BSC, it would suit me quite fine because I wouldn't have him coming up against us when we play Pollock maybe next season. Another player that stands out, Callum Higginbottom at Kelty. I think, no from Kilmarnock, he was probably a difficult one at Kilmarnock. He came into the Kilmarnock side when it was a wee bit kind of, let's say, shit, like it's probably the best way to describe it. And he was a decent enough player, but I don't think he really got going at Kilmarnock, and he's obviously went down a couple of levels now. He's playing at Kelty, but he absolutely looks to stand out on that side. He's creating chances, he's scoring goals, and I think he's going to be a useful player to have kind of down the entire season. Apart from that, I say you're right. I don't really see an awful lot of games. I'm probably just catching highlights here and there of teams, and I've only seen a couple of games kind of live as you like. But the other one I think is probably Jamie Dishington at East Stirlingshire. I see a lot of him in terms of being talked about. He's a good player, and Shire have done well this season. So yeah, they're probably the three standouts for me in terms of the season so far.
Yeah, we love Dish on this podcast. Like, he's fantastic. But yeah, I don't think we've spoke too much about him, but he seemed like he had a really decent game against Vale. Obviously got a goal as well, but set up a few. The coverage for the league's been great this season, actually. I mean, we're trying more things, but a lot of streams available. I know Moza's done fantastically well with Twitch. Spartan's obviously doing it for free with Cameron and myself as well. So the coverage has been great, but one lingering question: do you think the season will still get completed?
Yeah, I think it will. I think I said at the start of the season, I started the podcast when we had the prediction episode, and I said I questioned that myself, but I think it probably will. I think clubs are getting into a rhythm now of how they're playing their games, and they're trying to adjust without any fans. I think most clubs who want to play will be playing, and they'll have agreements set up with the players where maybe they're not paying the full amounts, or they're paying expenses or things like that. So the team should have probably kind of forecasted now to be able to survive without any fans. I think obviously the fan thing is an important issue in terms of finances for clubs, but I think any sensible committee or board at a club should really be kind of forecasting that out and making sure that they can do it for the entire season, because we don't know when fans are going to get back into football. And I think by all means, if you can get them back in sooner rather than later, but if you look around the world and see kind of lockdowns happening and suggestions of lockdown in Scotland, I think you might see a pause in the season maybe at some point. But however, it depends how that plays out in terms of the lockdown. But I think we'll be okay. I think certainly you might see a few teams drop out within the next maybe few weeks or months, certainly. And is it in the Lowland League you can drop out up till Christmas, is it, without any penalty?
Yeah, there's a sort of break in December. I think the worry for me, I'm not really necessarily worried about the Lowland League, but certainly maybe the East of Scotland. I think there might be a few teams drop out there.
Yeah, I think the same in the West, to be quite honest. I think you'll see teams, for example, in the conferences in the West, they know now they don't have promotion or relegation or anything like that to play for. They're playing just for the kind of to win a league effectively, and it's not really going to be about the promotion. So you might start to see teams that maybe don't see any point to playing if they're maybe starting to struggle financially and things like that. Maybe you might get to Christmas and the players maybe feel like their heart's not in it anymore. I'm not saying that about anyone in particular, but I think you might find that people might start to lose their interest, because you probably find that just now it's all new and exciting. The season started up and kick on, but once you get to maybe 3 or 4, 5 months down the line, or whenever it is, December, you can cut off 3 months down the line or whatever it is, you might start to see people kind of starting to drift away a little bit, and certainly they might struggle. But I think, as I say, in terms of full season, I think that'll be okay. All right, looking ahead to the fixtures on Saturday, the 7th of November. We'll start with Bo'ness versus Berwick.
Very tough. Very, very tough. I know Bo'ness dropped points midweek. They weren't playing on Saturday due to the postponement, but Berwick have done quite well away. So I really don't know how to call that one. I'll go with a draw.
I'm going to go with Bo'ness victory. I think Bo'ness look excellent. Probably maybe being affected by their game being off on Saturday, perhaps, but I think they certainly look like capable of beating Berwick. Next one is the official catch-up derby. It's BSC Glasgow versus the Spartans.
Tough one again, because obviously BSC drew with Berwick. Spartans have been kind of hit and miss from what I've seen recently. So, well, actually, I wouldn't say they've been hit and miss recently. The last two, I've not been watching them or commentating, so I've not really seen them. But I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a close. These games always seem quite fiery between BSC Glasgow and Spartans. Spartans always seem to have sort of fiery games between BSC Glasgow and notably East Ullinshire. So I think anything can happen in these sort of games. It's kind of like a competitive derby, if you will. So I can't call that one.
BS, as I say, I've watched a few games. I haven't seen much Spartans team yet. I'll catch the highlights usually, but I haven't managed to catch a live stream apart from the Friday night game I think you had against Canoe last week in the Cup. But BSC look great. I think they look pretty good. Slight bump in the road in terms of not picking up the win against Berwick, but I think BSC will have enough just to edge it. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a kind of 1-0 2-1 type result, but I'll go with BSC. Next one's Commonwealth Colts versus Gallifreyan Rovers at Broadwood.
Very
close game in it. It's going to be.
Yeah.
I think both teams are doing okay. I think Gala certainly doing better than Cumbernauld, but I think I'll go for a draw here.
Yeah, Gala have been surprising. They had 2 back-to-back wins against Civil Service Strollers and Spartans. Going to Broadwood, bigger pitch, tougher. Yeah, I can't call that either. I think it's going to be a draw.
Next one, East Ulster versus Bonnyrigg at the Falkirk Stadium. Again, another close tie. I think that a lot of the games you're looking at for this week are close matches. Shire with yet to concede a goal. I'm going to fancy them to continue that and get a close kind of 1-0 victory.
I'm looking at this similar to when they played East Kilbride. I tipped Shire for that game. Obviously, it was a 0-0 draw. I think it's got every opportunity to be a 0-0 draw in this one. I think it's a good time to play Bonnyrigg Rose, having dropped them 2 points. If you're Shire, you're going to have... I think Shire have the momentum going into this, I would say. Probably a really good opportunity for Shire to maybe even beat Bonnyrigg, but I think it's going to be close either way.
Next game is Edinburgh Uni versus Cali Braves. Edinburgh obviously the absolute die to get the points against Gretna, but I think this might be Cali Braves' chance to really kind of turn the corner and try and kind of kick on from here. So I'm going to go with Cali Braves to get the result here.
I would agree, but they have to get a result here. They honestly do. I don't think. I mean, I would be absolutely delighted if Edinburgh Uni got the result, but we've both put Cali Braves in the sort of the naughty bracket, I guess, if not doing what they need to do. So, Cali Braves have to win that for me if they have any chance. I know it's really, really, really early in the season, but if you're Cali Braves, you have to look at that as a 3-pointer.
Yeah, because I think if we look at the next match coming up, it's Gretna versus Vale or Leaving. I think if you're Cali, you're looking at that match, and if one of those teams can get the result in that game, that really kind of pulls another team into that kind of the 3-point bracket that they've got a few teams sitting on just now. So, and it will keep another team who's sitting kind of close to the bottom, kind of in touch with Cali Braves and Cumberland Law. So, yeah, I think Cali Braves really do, as you say, need to get the result. But yeah, looking ahead to the Gretna game, Gretna versus Vale Leaving, I think for me, I think that this could be the time that Gretna can get their first points on the board. I haven't seen much from Vale to be overly concerned from Gretna. I think Gretna have shown some flashes of good play, and they've got the chance. I think they're playing at home as well at Radial Park. So yeah, I'm going to go with Gretna to finally get a victory in the league.
I think, again, I know it's really way too early, but Gretna need to win this, I would say. I know we're saying we need to win it 5-6 games in, but like it was really disappointing to get beat by Edinburgh Uni, and no disrespect to Edinburgh Uni, but I've heard a lot about, Mozza fancying Gretna this season, how things have changed and this and that, but I've not really seen too much in terms of them really improving, which is quite sad to say. But I know they've brought in a lot of youngsters and all that sort of stuff, but I still feel that club needs a wee bit more experience in terms of what they have in the park, maybe one or two more experienced heads. But youth can be an asset. Obviously, Vale Leaving have shown it. They were one of the younger sides last season, but they seem to be doing well with what they have. The 3 young boys on loan from Bonnyrigg, Levi Kinchant's done really well, Johnny Grotland. So Vale for me are a wee bit different. I think they pose a threat going forward, so it's going to be interesting for me. You know what? Just on the basis of what I've said, I'm going to go with Vale Leaving.
Yeah, I think you're right about the attacking threat that Vale do pose. I think they managed to put 4 past BSC a few weeks back, so they're obviously capable of scoring goals and just obviously can't get the results. But I think if they turned up and played like they did against, for example, the BSC game, I think they could definitely shock a few. But I think, and for me, it's Gretna. I think Gretna will manage to pull themselves out and just get some points on the board and kick on.
Yeah, I mentioned a wee bit earlier as well. Gretna are missing the likes of Dean Watson, not the one that's he's Stallinger at the moment. the other Dean Watson, so he's a key player. But they have got players that I like there. But again, I think maybe I'm being a wee bit too harsh early on. I got on with obviously Jonathan that listens in, and I listen to the Gretna fan cast and that. So I just, for me, from what I see in that team, and I can't say I know all the boys. They just don't have enough at the moment for me, and the results certainly haven't convinced me that they've moved on.
Yeah, I think you're quite right there to point that out. So next game is Kelty Hearts versus Escobar, top of the table clash between the two sides who are kind of pushing on, and the teams we expect to probably be at the top anyway. So I think again I've mentioned it throughout this fixture list, but for me, I'm going to go with Kelty. I think they've been scoring well, and I think they still to lose. And looking at the form in terms of both teams, they're pretty much neck and neck in terms of wins, goals and scored and goals conceded. So I think it's going to be a tough one to call. But I think Kelty could just edge it at home.
I might have to admit this really, really early on that I was wrong, because I didn't think Escobar would win the title this season. Having seen a lot of their highlights and seen them, I think they're going to beat Kelty. Controversial, but I honestly think Escobar will go to Kelty and beat them. But there is a wild card in that. Before everyone gets excited, if Nathan Austin is back fit and playing, Kelty will be a different team because he scored. I love Fash, man. He scored buckets of goals, but that's what they need. Kelty are missing that at the moment. I think they need a proper out-and-out striker, and no offence to whoever's been playing up front, but Fash is the guy that does it for Kelty in terms of goal scoring. If he's back fit playing on Saturday, then Kelty will win, but if he's not, then East Kilbride will win. That's my prediction.
I think that would be a surprise if either side did get the result, because they're both been excellent. I think the thing about Kilby is that the thing that's not surprised me certainly, but the thing I was most concerned about Kilby was the fact that they were bringing in these new players and you maybe take a wee bit of time to gel and kind of get together as a squad, but they seem to have done that straight away, and they're not disappointing at all. So I think for me, I'm going to go with Kelty, but it's the same kind of thing. There'd be no shock if it was if East Kilbride did win it, but I think both teams will go for it, so I think you'll probably get a winner. I don't think a draw maybe win the Cals here, but I think it'll be potentially a high-scoring game and potentially like a kind of 3-2 or something like that, where there's definitely goals from both sides. So looking forward to seeing the highlights of that for sure.
Check it. One thing I will say though is watch set plays. I bet there'll be a goal from. I bet if there's going to be goals in this, it'll come from corners, and I'm not going to say which for which team. Leave that open.
Final game in the fixture list is University of Stirling versus Dalbeattie Star. I'll be very, very quick about this one. I think University of Stirling will coast past Dalbeattie. I think they, like we said before, looking excellent. I don't expect them to disappoint again.
University of Stirling got beat by Dalbeattie Star, if I remember correctly, quite heavily last season, Fourth Bank. So we've not seen the best of Star, to be honest. I know they've had quite a lot of tough fixtures as well. So this is a good opportunity for them to really sort of show in terms of the results that they can get them basically. But I still think University of Stirling, because of the momentum. I know they'd be disappointed with the loss against Strollers, but as we said earlier, Strollers are a hard place to go. Let's put it this way, Jamie Penker's got 5 goals. He's joint top scorer last season. The top scorer for University of Stirling last season, I believe, was Craig Brown, the captain. He wasn't the captain at the time, but he's the captain now. He only scored 6. So, he's one away from equaling the top scorers last season. So, if they can keep scoring goals, University of Stirling, they'll keep winning games.
And that's the fixture list for Saturday, the 7th of November. Just to round up, we'll go through the usual plugs. You can get me on Twitter as at Mr. Ben Grant. Chris, where can everyone find you?
At Rampant FM on Twitter. We'll give a wee shout out to Mozza. We know how much he loves these plugs. He couldn't make it today, sadly. It's at Mozza Plays on Twitter and pretty much everywhere else, Twitch. Catchup is at Official Catchup on Twitter. Lowland League Catchup on Facebook, and if you just type in Official Catchup on Google, and you'll pretty much find us everywhere else that we're on: YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, other places that I've not even heard of, mate.
Excellent. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you all next week.